Good afternoon, folks. I hope everybody's well. I'm just going to finish off some of my green tea. Decaffeinated green tea as well. So it's rock and roll. It's rock and roll stuff. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is it doesn't matter. Okay. Now, as you may know, in sort of the health and fitness, wellness, whatever you want to call it field, there's a lot of information, a ton of information out there. And the one thing that we don't lack is information. And we certainly don't lack free information either, because a lot of this stuff is free online. You know, you can go on YouTube, get free workouts. You can get diet plans for free online or very inexpensive diet books, all of which can help you get a result. The question is, why do, 95% of people fail at sort of sustainable weight loss? Well, one of the problems I've said before is the fact that they do actually get, in my opinion, too much information, and that's part of the problem. I'm just going to take this hoodie off because I'm quite warm. Don't worry, I am wearing a t-shirt. Is part of the problem is that people do get too much information, and what this does is when we add these layers of complexity in, what happens is this then actually makes people do nothing because they get confused, and it's so complicated that they go, well, if it's this complicated, well, I'm not going to do anything at all. So what basically we need to do is simplify the process a little bit. Okay, so simplify it for people, because as you probably know, most people don't look after themselves. Most people don't look after themselves, not because they don't want to or not because that they can't. It's because they don't know how. It's either too complicated or it's not accessible enough. And I've said this before in my previous video about the 20 million people apparently that are physically inactive. So, and as an industry, we don't help ourselves. So the fitness, diet, weight, whatever you want to call it, industry doesn't help itself, because what we do is you've got all these people online arguing about what's the best way. Yeah, you've got all these people online arguing about what's the best way. These guys over here saying it's calories, these guys over here saying it's sugar, these guys over here saying it's fat, these guys over here saying it's this, and everyone's arguing. And the poor, you know, client, customer, normal person on the street who's gained a bit of weight gets confused and ends up doing nothing, because one person will criticise another person's approach rather than find the best way possible to help the individual that stood in front of us, which is what we should be doing, in my opinion. Because there's plenty to go. Let's tangent this a little bit. There's plenty to go around. It's not as if we're running out of overweight, unfit and depressed people anytime soon. Yeah? So it's not like we're going to run out of potentially people to help. So we need to find more ways of helping people rather than criticising each other about this is the best approach and that's the best approach and this is the best approach. Because ultimately, the best approach is the one that helps the person that you're trying to help stick to whatever it is they're trying to do. Because all these diets and fitness plans work if you stick to them, you know. The problem is people don't stick to things. So this brings me on to my point. How do we help people stick to things? Well, number one, how do we help people stick to things is we go down the base of it doesn't matter. So if somebody is walking for an hour a day, yeah, and that's what they do you think that person on the whole is genuinely going to be a healthy individual? Yeah? Now, they might not be an athlete, and they might not be performing at some optimum fat loss level. But if somebody's doing an hour of exercise a day and walking for an hour a day, is that enough? Yeah. So it doesn't really matter what they're doing as long as they're doing something. The problem is people are doing nothing. That's the problem. So when somebody says, oh, that type of exercise is no good, when someone's doing it consistently, and they then go, well, okay, I'm going to go back to doing nothing then, that doesn't help anyone. So when people come to me and say, I'm doing this, I'm like, are you sticking to it? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter then. As long as you're happy with it and you can stick to it, and it's not, in my opinion, negatively influencing anybody else in your life or the world, then why not? It doesn't matter. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't get caught up in this information battle of this doesn't work, that doesn't work, it's all about this, I know best, I'm dogmatic. No, what works is what you can stick to, okay? I've got my own opinions on how this should work based on what I did when I lost weight and based on what works for me and my clients. But the truth is, that's one approach. That's not the truth. When people start saying this is the truth, how do you know? Because that might not work for one person, it might work for another. So the first thing I want you to know is just do something. Yeah, and I've said this before because motivation comes from the Latin to move. So when people say they need motivation, motivation's not going to show up like I've said before. You need to move. You need to get into motion, and then you'll become motivated. So just do something. Yeah, just do something. And that really is the most powerful thing that you can ever do. And if anybody questions what you're doing, unless you're paying them for advice or paying them to guide you, then ignore them, because it doesn't matter. If you're doing something, yeah, then it doesn't matter. Because the problem is for most of you and most people is they're doing nothing at all. They're not even going for a walk. You know, I had a chat with a client just about, you know, walking instead of taking the car to the shops, 10 minutes either way. That's something. Is it optimum for fat loss and all this nonsense? No, but it's something. So when we're starting out, the first stage I work with on people is get them to a stage where they're doing something. Yeah? Whether that be on the diet side, whether that be on the fitness side, they're doing something. It doesn't really matter as long as they're sticking to it and as long as they're learning. But doing nothing isn't going to help anybody. And for a lot of people, they do nothing, I genuinely believe, because they get confused. And people bombard them with information rather than keeping it really, really simple and just doing something that's going to keep you on the path. Okay? So it really doesn't matter. So when everyone's talking about the best type of exercise for this, if you're doing nothing, the best type of exercise is something. Yeah? Another classic would be, what's the best time of day to exercise? Well, it doesn't matter. What time of day can you exercise at? Me? Mornings. But I'm not going to say that's the best time because someone else might hate mornings. Someone else, you know, I had a client once who, you know, I go running in the morning. They would go running at 10 p.m. I mean, that's my worst nightmare. But for them, that's when it worked. And that's fine. Yeah, it's not about opinions. It's about helping people stick to things. And it's about you sticking to things. And if something works for you and you're seeing a result from that, then it doesn't matter. Until it stops and then perhaps ask for help. But all these people who you're not paying for their opinions, giving your opinions and clouding your judgment isn't going to help. You need to stick to whatever's working and whatever is going to help you be consistent. Yeah? Because there's two things you need to be. Yeah? In order to change your body shape, change your body composition, maybe lose a bit of weight and the rest of it, there's only two things that you need to do, right? Number one is you need to be consistent. Yeah? And number two, you need to be curious. So you need to be consistent. Yeah, all this stuff we see on sort of social media about, oh, I've lost this much, I've lost that much. That's great, but let's see how long it lasts for. Yeah, you need to be consistent. And consistency is about what you do when no one's watching. The second thing is you need to be curious. Yeah, you need to just find out what's possible for you. Yeah, and just be a little bit curious about what you're capable of. Yeah, but the first thing is consistency. So whatever it is you're doing, as long as you can stick to it, it's a winner. Yeah. Don't allow yourself to get confused and stop doing anything because you think what you're doing isn't effective. So I promise you, if you're sticking to something, that's the most important thing you need to do at this point. Yeah, especially at the start. And then later on, yeah, maybe you can work on other things. But at the start, the most important thing is sticking to something. Hopefully that's useful. Consistency, curiosity. That's all you need. Have a good day.